Hare Krishna.
But our group is changed, is named as, because you all have passed out in October, no? So we have taken though we start in November, we keep the batch as October batch first on it. Okay?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so this is the recap we have from, I just want to do this bit because the recording, let it be there. So the verse from 1 to 20, we saw the what was happening in the battlefield, and we looked at the personalities, right? Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. I don't know why we... You all can hear now? Now let me see.
Yes, Mataji, you can hear.
You can hear? You can see the screen?
No, Mataji, screen is not visible.
Not visible. Okay. You can see now the screen?
Yes, Mataji, now it is visible.
Okay. Okay, so we have this recap we are doing from verse 1 to 20, where we looked at what Bhagavad Gita has, special thing in the purport we read. It's a complete manual and it's actually essence of the Vedas. And then we looked at the personalities like Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra's anxiety could be seen by the way he was asking Kim up what was happening in the battlefield. He was anxious because he wants the war to go on. At no cost, he should not be stopped. And he didn't mind even sacrificing his own sons because he wants to still retain the throne. So that was his anxiety, and he was worried. And he was this is the kind of people who are so material attached and they greed for the power and for the throne. Whereas Duryodhana was a person who was envious of his brothers, of his cousins, and he was arrogant, and he didn't want to give any inch of the land to the his cousins, right? And he was actually feared, and he was fearful because he didn't expect Pandavas to come up with such a good army. And though it was small, but still he was very scared. And he wanted to take out his frustration on his guru, Dronacharya, and he was being very chastising so that he won't be lenient to his favorite students. And he will fight as per the thing. So that, and then Bhishma Dev was just, didn't reply to any of that, whatever Duryodhana was saying. He just blew his conch shell and everyone started blowing the conch shells. And Sanjaya was very tactful in describing the whole thing to Dhritarashtra. And he said, Duryodhana didn't see Krishna as the Lord there. He never mentioned his name, but Sanjaya could make out, and he was telling indirectly to the Dhritarashtra what are the signs of victory could be easily seen there, and where the Lord is, that's the side where Dharma will be there. Okay, and that's what we saw. That now we are going to see, and also there was no confidence of Pandavas in Lord Krishna is something we have to understand, which was described in the purport. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. And what is this confidence called? Surrender. Because they knew whatever, even if they're put into trouble, they knew the Lord will be there on their side to protect them. And this is how we need to approach the Lord, because He is there for us to thing. So this is one thing which we need to understand. So now when we come to the verses in 10, 21, 22, you can see how Arjuna is Uvacha. What did he say? He said, "O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of ours." In the purport, Prabhupada writes clearly about the significance of the word Achyuta, where the Lord is addressed as Achyuta. Achyuta means is addressed as infallible. Though he is a charioteer here, but still he has not come down from his position as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He still remains as the Rishikesha, Lord of total senses. And here he has assumed this position because he likes to do whatever the devotees orders him to do. So, as a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins, but he was forced to come into battle, right? Therefore, he was anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were there. So this is the why he wanted to see them again. Because there was no need for him to see. In fact, he has come and he can just take the orders from the Lord and carry on fighting, the thing. But he wanted to see. And this is where you can understand how the Acharyas say that how he was put into thing. And what is the word you must hear clearly say that nirikshihaham, that is, I want to see. So this is how Maya comes in. Even a small opening is enough. Just by curiosity, you might say, there are many people who start smoking. They might only start with, let me try, let me do this, let me see, some curiosity. And then they finally fall into that. So this is how the Acharya said, this is how Maya was, the Lord has put him in. Lord can understand his desire very clearly. He is there within us. He knows what, even we may not know our desires, but he would know. So here very clearly, Nirikshayaham, I want to see. And that's how he comes to see that. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. So he wanted to see anyone here now he is addressing all who are supporting Duryodhana as Durbuddhir, the evil-minded, because birds of a feather will flock together. So he wanted to know who all are there who are supporting Duryodhana. So this is how he says. So this is thing, Arjuna addresses Jamai, and lot of costless money. He takes a role of charioteer for his devotees. And he's a Bhakta Vasala, but his supreme position is never challenged. And we saw the trap by the Maya. I want to see. And he also wants to see the supporters of the evil-minded Duryodhana. Right? And then he continues to say, now, what does the Lord do? Sanjay now, Sanjay Vacha. O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fire chariot in the midst of the armies of the both parties. So here, when Sanjay is very indirectly pointing out, he knows he is a devotee, he can understand what's the play by the Lord. Okay, so he is addressing Arjuna as Gudakesha, because Gudaka means sleep, but it's not Gudakesha means one who has conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship. But still, though he has put into illusion, but he is still a devotee, and this is all by the work of the Lord. So thus a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna. This is called Krishna consciousness. But Rishikesha, director of the senses, mind of everything, he could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in midst of the armies. And he's dead. And what did the Lord say? In presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of the Lord said, just behold Partha. All the Kauravas assembled here. So here, look, Krishna, the Lord could have placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana or anybody else, but he purposely put it in front of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya so that he wanted to bewilder Arjuna. Okay, so this is how the Lord takes care of the things. is referred to this all we saw. And the Lord said, all the assembled is here. So the mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in a friendly, joking manner. And what do we see here? Continues. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. Okay. So, and who were the fathers, kind of grandfathers, Bhishma, Somadatta, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya, Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like everyone he could see, right? And like, you can see the age difference. Like Bhishma Dev was like 400 years old. And whereas you had sons like Lakshmana and all that, they were all 16, 17 and that age. So there was a 4 generations of people who were there assembled on the battlefield to fight. Okay. And then when the son of Kunti, so all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. So here the Kripaya Paravashtu, he became overwhelmed by compassion. So he was taken aback. See, there is something which you, by talking, when you're planning and you know that these are the people who are going to be there in the battlefield and you think. But when it comes to actual practical thing, when you come to the field and you come to the battle and you are faced with them, that's when the bewilderment had started. And he felt really compassion. Why am I come here to fight with them? And in such situations, conflicting situations do happen in us also, in our life. We might have planned something and then when you actually face the problem, then it's when it's a real test to us, how it is and how we are going to face and why it is happening to us and what is thing. And, it puts us into bewilderment. So this is what happened to Arjuna. So he suddenly saw, he had not met Bhishma Dev for many years. Okay, for all that Vanavas he has gone and all that. And actually in that Virat, he had seen Bhishma Dev, but still he had no respect for him, for his elders and his, to his guru and all that. But actually seeing them on the battlefield and the huge army there, soldiers have come that side and his own soldiers are on this side behind him. That really put him to bewilderment, the compassion. He was thinking, why we have come here to fight with these people, and it's different from showing daya, mercy. Okay, that is you only feel daya, but here it was really compassion because he felt for his grandfather, he felt for his guru, he felt for his friends over there, friends on this side, and for the soldiers who have come who had no fault, and all for the kingdom which they couldn't get, isn't it? So that put him into compassion. And that here Prabhupada writes that only devotees will feel compassion. And whereas what did Duryodhana feel? He was feeling envious and he was feeling fear, whereas Dhritarashtra was feeling anxious. And the symptoms of compassion were also seen in the coming verses. That his limbs were quivering, his mouth was drying up, and his whole body was trembling, and his hair was standing on the hand. Hands were, and Gandiva bow was slipping from his hands, and its legs were, he was unable to stand any longer. And he forgot himself and due to weakness. Weakness of the heart is because he was compassionate. He was feeling, and he could only see death. He could only see that all these people will die, causes of, and he is the cause for this misfortune. So that's what put him into the compassion. And these all could be seen by Sanjaya, and he was explaining it, right? So now he's thinking how this battle will, in the coming verses, the mind is thinking how this battle will finish, his family, his traditions, he sees great sinful reactions awaiting him when he kills his family members, feeling it better to be killed unarmed than to fight. That's finally he comes to that kind of thing and he wants to finally sit down on his jacket. So this is it. So Arjuna's reaction after seeing his thing is all these symptoms could be seen. And this thing was forcing their immediate death. That is why he was feeling sympathy and compassion, not to because his weakness, because of his soft-heartedness. That's what these are all symptoms of the pure devotee of the Lord. And he was astonished to see their fighting spirit. Genuine devotees applaud as all God qualities, non-devotees only sack such. See, you saw how Duryodhana was proudly telling all these friends have come to lay down their lives. He was not feeling sorry. He was taking pride in that. He was thinking, even if they die, they are prepared to die for me. That's how he was thinking of it, right? Whereas here, Arjuna was thinking, because of us, these people have come to face death. And he was feeling very, very sorry because of his soft and their pure devotee. And the fear due to loss of life. And because he forgot that as a Kshatriya, he has come to fight, right? And he was thinking of the death, the fear due to the loss of life. And that is how he has come into the material conception of life. That shows that he is put into illusion. In fact, actually, they cannot, the devotees think, but this was the play of the Lord. And how? And also it shows this is a practical thing. Otherwise, why will they say Bhagavad Gita is a thing for us, no instructions? Why did the Lord wanted to say the instructions to us? Because once the Kali Yuga starts, then we need to have something to as a guidelines. So how to be here. So this material conception of life, which do not have any fear. After this was his reaction to seeing his relatives, right? And great picture, material condition and material. So he sees only conception. And now what happens is the misconception. See now, when you look into the verse, you can see, I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself. My mind is reeling. I only see causes of misfortune. Oh Krishna, killer of the Kesidev. Now he is addressing him as Keshava so that he can relieve him from his doubts and anxieties. So such fearfulness and loss can take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Here, Arjuna is envisioning only painful reverses in the battlefield. He says he won't be happy by gaining victory over the foe. He says, why am I here? Nimittani vipratani, because this is what he's seeing. Nimittani cha viprat. He's only seeing only bad things because people will die. And now Arjuna is showing ignorance of his self-interest by Krishna's will. Okay. So what Prabhupada writes, the conditioned soul forgets his the conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him because he was only thinking. He never thought that this is Krishna's will. So, weakness apart and fearful of the loss of mental. Nimitta Western thinking Vayama. So, every living entity generally is interested in himself and his own welfare and he suffers because actually his jiva is for Krishna. So, he forgets that. So this is how overwhelmed by compassion. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all good qualities, which are found only in godly persons or in demigods. This is what Prabhupada writes. Whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, he will lack in godly qualities. He might show at certain situations, he might show some godly qualities, but it is not inherent in him, okay? He won't be there like that in all the situations, non-devotees. But genuine devotion, who have pure devotees will always have all these. And excessive attachment to material things results in fear and loss of ego. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, Why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own. So this is what happens there. Why am I here? That's what Arjuna was feeling. So when you look at the comparison, the mindsets of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana and Arjuna, Dhritarashtra was selfish, unjust king, and he was spiritually blind, attached to the throne. Duryodhana, he was evil-minded, fearful, vindictive, and overconfident of victory. Whereas Arjuna was pure devotee, kind, and he was overwhelmed with compassion. So we can see these three kind of personalities. So Maya is so, illusion is so powerful that can bewilder even a learned man about his true beauty. So that's what the message is from here. How Arjuna was put into Maya, because it shows that even if you're very learned and you know everything about the Vedic instructions and all that, but still he can be bewildered about his true beauty. So he can, and then he starts saying, I cannot enjoy kingdom if all have been at the cost of killing relatives. That's what he comes to say. So Kshatriya dying in the battlefield under Krishna's sword is eligible to enter sun planet. He's renounced order, life, devotees. Also they can. But Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, forgot the moral codes. What he was looking at the bodily relationship, his relationship to Bhishma Dev, to Guru, and to the relatives and all that. So he thought killing relatives is not going to give him any happiness in life. So he was not willing to fight. He thought it's much better to lead a secluded life. So here it was like, no enjoyment. What is there? If nobody is going to live, then how am I going to enjoy my victory? So he was looking at from that angle. There's no enjoyment in killing relatives and trying to, and if all of them are not there and he gets a kingdom, what's the point? He can't show it to anyone, isn't it? So he was thinking, first he was thinking how I can kill, why they have come here for with such compassion was there. Now he's feeling, if I kill this thing and they're not there to enjoy, then who will be there to enjoy it if everyone is killed? So there won't be any enjoyment in it. So he says he cannot enjoy kingdom at the cost of killing the relatives. So he thinks it's much better to leave a death. And then he continues to address the Lord, saying, O Govinda, what avail to us a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, and all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield. So if Bhishma Dev is not there, Dronacharya is not there, and many others were not there, then what is the point in having a kingdom, right? Then he continues, says, O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, all relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, then why should I wish to kill them, though I may survive? So he is addressing that. He is asking the Lord, why am I to do that? Of all creatures, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone the world. So he's saying, why at all do that? So now there's a misunderstanding of philosophy. I mean, of the instructions, he might know. See, in fact, in Vedic instructions, there will be some contradictory. In one place, it says you fight, and in another context, it says do not fight. You protect your relatives, and in another thing, if they are aggressors, if they have done such things, then you should kill them. In another place, it says you should protect the thing. So it's like in a contradictory. So you won't be able to take any decision even from. So here, this is what it has happened to Arjuna. And this will happen to us also. Okay. So he's fearful of sinful reactions. But actually, when people who are there are 6 kind of purport mentions, Prabhupada, there are 6 kind of aggressors where the Vedic instruction says you can kill them. Like people who give poison, one who sets fire to the house, or he attacks with deadly weapons, or he plunders riches, or occupies another's land, and who kidnaps another's wife. All these have been done by the Kauravas. Actually, Duryodhana tried to poison Bhima. Then they even actually set fire to the house of Pandavas. They attacked them with deadly weapons, and they tried to harm the Draupadi and occupy their land. Everything they have done, right? So it was, as per the Vedic instructions, it is good. I mean, it is rightful to kill such aggressors. But Arjuna is telling, I wish how should I attend that will ultimately bring misfortune. Because never brings misfortune. That's why he started. So he's thinking why there will be a sin to kill your own relatives, right? But actually in other place it says they are such aggressors, you can kill them. So it is like, misunderstanding how I can kill them and that. So he's putting his argument in front of the Lord. And then he says there will be a destruction of family. He could see, okay, they have come to fight as a Kshatriya, I've been challenged and I've come also to fight. But I can see the destruction of the family. They may not see it. The opposite party is ready to fight and kill each other. But I cannot see there's no benefit in this activity. So he can refuse the invitation of gambling and war. He can do it because he knows they are doing it out of greed. So this is what the argument here he puts in these verses. Arjuna sees the other party is blind of effect of this challenge. In knowing the evil consequence, is not ready to fight. He says, O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family and friends and quarreling with friends. Why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts? Okay, they cannot see the problem when the crime, but I can see, there's a fault in doing this. So why I should do it? Yeah, why I should take part in this act of sinful action. So this is what his argument, third one, it is why it will be sinful. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. But under such obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party, right? But in this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such. So he could see the evil sequences and could not. So what Prabhupada writes here, obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. So sometimes in many of our situations, now we'll be obliged to do certain act, might have to tell. But if we know that act is good, then we can do it. But if we know the effect is otherwise, then that obligation is no more there. So this is what here Prabhupada writes. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. So even though he was obliged as a Kshatriya, he says, I can see they are only fighting, they have come here to fight because they are greedy. But I don't have to take up this challenge because it is actually harmful. The effect is otherwise. So I am not bound by being a Kshatriya. So this is another thing which is also conflicting situations which will also be for right. So greed, lobha pahata. So hunger and thirst can be satisfied by eating a drink, right? But it cannot be, anger can be satisfied by chastising. But greed can never be satisfied by any means because the greed is something like that. It keeps on and obligation. If it will be binding only if the effect is good. But if it's not otherwise, no one can be. So this is another instructions we are seeing here, which Prabhupada points it out. So because of that, Arjuna says, I'm not bound as being a Kshatriya. I need not accept this challenge. I would not like to fight. And we can also see there's a destruction of family tradition. Because when all the elders are all died, there won't be anybody to guide the youngsters and the women will be left with it. So in Varnashra system, elder members of the family were responsible for purifying processes in family from birth to death. So death of elder will stop such processes. And young members will become irreligious and they will lose chance for spiritual salvation. So this is something which he could foresee. So he says there will be a destruction of that dynasty and family loyalty. Actually, in Manusmriti, there are a lot of samskaras. Out of that, 16 are very important, where there will be a Garbhadana before conception, and there will be Srimantam, and like Namkarna is given name-giving ceremony, and Annaprashanam, and then piercing ear, and so many things are there, Upanayam, And finally, once the student life is ended, then they will. And finally, Antim Sanskar. So everything is being there, purificating process, which the elders normally guide the youngsters to do, right? So here it says Arjuna can see destruction of family and society, and then there'll be a failure of Varnashram system. So the young members will become irreligious, and when religion is very prominent, women becomes polluted, give rise to unwanted property, and there will be risk of war and pestilence. And irresponsible leaders bring chaos in the society by this, because they are irresponsible. People will become irresponsible, and they become the leaders, and there will be hellish conditions. And good population depends on faithfulness and chastity. So this will revise. So Arjuna says, and he knows the Shastra. He says, those who destroy such family tradition dwell in hell. So he says there will be Varnashrama system will be there, and they will be will lead to Varna Shankara. So he says that why I should be partake into this kind of sinful reactions. So we see Arjuna is basing his argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the point of factual knowledge without being helped by right persons who is already established. So there is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for sins. So one who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize this atonement called praksha. No one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable. So he knows the Shastras and he's speaking from them because he has learned it from his authorities, right? So now he's putting these arguments in front of the Lord and saying that by doing this, there will be a degradation of the society and they will lead to unwanted progeny. So the superiors are killed, then the Vedic rituals and all will be stopped, and there will be family tradition, there will be destruction, irreligion will predominate in the family, and women will be left unprotected, and when they get misled by miscreants, and they become polluted, and they will lead to unwanted progeny, and which will harm the society. And family rectors are. So Arjuna's fear of sinful reaction, he says, is instead of killing the relatives driven by desire to royal appearance, it's better to die in the battlefield unarmed. So this Arjuna's soft-heartedness being it. So he is overwhelmed with grief. He puts down his bow and arrow. And many people who go through there, they think, see, Arjuna is so right. And why is Krishna is insisting him to fight? So we are going to see the reasons why Krishna is going to insist on him to fight. On the outside, it looks very reasonable and logical answers put forth by Arjuna for not to fight, isn't it? But the Prabhupada concludes it. There are certain saintly qualities which could be observed in the Arjuna. Because he was soft-hearted, he doesn't want to kill even for exchange of 3 words. He's ready to forgive any aggressors, even though there is no reaction in killing them. Okay, there's no sinful reaction if he kills the aggressor, but still he is ready to forgive them. And he considers evil consequences even at the risk of refusing obligation to fight. Conscious of obligations to protect family traditions and morals. Okay, and he's ready to be killed unarmed but not retaliate. So these are the things, and he keeps his bow down. But only thing is the conclusion in the purport. Prabhupada writes, such a kind and soft-hearted person is fit to receive this transcendental knowledge which Krishna is going to impart. Whereas saintly qualities were not there in Dhritarashtra nor in Duryodhana. But Dhritarashtra heard Bhagavad Gita, but he was not a kind and soft person. And because of that, he never had the mercy of the Lord to understand this science, the science which he was now imparting to Arjuna. So that is the basic difference. And why? And also, there in the purpose, you can see that though Arjuna was ready to forgive them, but Krishna, the Lord, was not ready to forgive because they had armed his devotees. That Draupadi's thing, he can never forgive them for that action. So he had to retaliate. He can never show mercy on all the people who were there in the assembly who were supporting Duryodhana in that. So, any harm which is done to his devotees, he will never forgive. There won't be any mercy given by the Lord. That is the reason why Dhritarashtra was never able to understand the science, though he heard it from Sanjaya, and he could, everything he heard, but he could not understand because he never had the mercy of the Lord. Mercy, only with we heard, get the mercy of the Lord, he gives the understanding for this science. Okay. So then tomorrow we can see how in these verses, how Lord is refuting the logic, the reasoning which Arjuna put forth, everything completely in the chapter 2. Okay. And okay. I know some people think. So if there's nothing, I will wait, stop sharing.